What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, joined by Tyler Stafford. I am in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the New York hotel, which has exceeded every expectation I had for it. The bar was pretty low on that one, but the GM meetings actually just finished up about an hour ago at the Cosmopolitan Hotel, which is the best hotel on the Vegas Strip. I will hear no debate otherwise. Dana Brown, the Astros GM, talked today for about 40 minutes. Um, you know, covered a lot of topics, and there wasn't much, Tyler, that I think was, super noteworthy. I don't think, there was a ton of breaking news or anything, but that's kind of how this goes. The GM meetings are very much agents and other team officials kind of liken it to, this is where you build the foundation. This is where you start, like, this is where, like, teams figure out, oh, like, that guy's available in trade, or oh, like, that's what this free agent's looking for, years and money wise. Like, you lay the foundation here, you build the groundwork to set for the offseason. So that's what the Astros did. Their contingent here, they met with all the agents that are here, they met with other teams. It's just really kind of a feeling out process. So not a ton of actual transactions or news, but still some insightful stuff to come out of Vegas.
Yeah. So, what do you do the whole time?
It's pretty
Like, do they
funny.
announce, "Oh, this press conference is happening over here," or are you just kind of at like a middle school dance, standing in the hotel lobby, trying to work up the courage to go talk to people?
It is very, like, I was joking with someone earlier today. The GM meetings is basically standing and drinking uh, for 3 days. A lot of stuff happens after hours at various hotel bars, various places. There's a lot of people in the industry that just kind of gather there, and a lot of stuff happens there during the meetings. And meetings is kind of a misnomer. Like, it's not as if, like, they have, like, structure, like, they have a couple things that all the teams have to attend, but this is really just like a big convention kind of thing. Every agency, like the Boras Corps, has a suite at the Cosmopolitan, so all the teams will visit the Boras Corps suite. Same thing with Excel, same thing with Wasserman, same thing with all these different agencies. And then, there's a lot of times where you're just standing in near the elevators, near the entrances, and you hope you run into someone, and you can kind of strike up a conversation that way. It's not for the it's not for the introverted. It's and which is tough for me, because I'm not somebody that's, normally going to be the guy that's running up to you to talk to you, to meet you, things like that. Like, it tests a lot of, your social skills, your social awareness, things like that. And you just kind of pray that you see people, because if you don't, you could really just end up standing in the lobby of the Cosmo for 5 hours and your feet hurt and you have nothing. And it's like, you got to wait until Dana Brown talks. But to answer your other question, all the National League GMs talked on Tuesday, and all the American League GMs talked today. So the only formal media availability was just both of those days. All of the heads of baseball operations for the NL and the AL, they had to be in this room for an hour. And all the media went in that room, and you could get who you wanted. And luckily, with Dana, it was just me and Matt Kawahara from the Houston Chronicle. So we got him, to ourselves, really, for 35 minutes. And that's kind of invaluable time to have with a GM of a team.
Yeah, as someone who is in sales, I have spent a lot of time doing exactly what you just said, of sitting around a booth somewhere or trying to get people to talk to you for days at a time. It's draining. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, I mean, some interesting things already have come out, and like you said, you were able to talk to Dana for half an hour, just the two of you. What were what were some of the big storylines that you came in specifically wanting to know about that he talked about today?
Well, I think the first thing that is kind of that, I said there was no breaking news. Like, there was some news. The Astros have finalized their hitting staff for the year. Their hitting coaches and their hitting program is done. And it was interesting to hear Dana discuss kind of why they did it the way they did it. He called it a complete overhaul of the Astros hitting infrastructure, of their hitting staff. And so I'll go into a little bit of how they're going to structure the staff. Dana had mentioned that he wasn't thrilled, I guess, or just the fact that, when Troy Snicker and Alex Centrone were on staff, they both shared the hitting coach title, and they really kind of divided responsibilities equally. Like it wasn't like Troy was in charge of this and then Alex was in charge of this, and then there weren't really duties or delegations. It was just, they came about it their way and they made it work. It's not to say it can't work. It obviously worked. They had a great offense for a very long time. However, when they were looking to retool the staff, they wanted to give a little more designations, like a little more of a hierarchical thing. So the way they're going to structure the staff is Victor Rodriguez, who I believe we have talked about on this podcast before. He's agreed he's going to be one hitting coach, and Dana said in no uncertain terms he is the number one. He is the lead hitting coach. Everyone will report to Victor Rodriguez. He's been with the Padres for a long time. He's been in the game for a long time, has about 40 years of experience in the game, an old kind of veteran coach.
Okay, so they're not sharing. He's the lead. Vic Rodriguez is. It's not like a Lennon McCartney thing. It's like one is better or higher than the other.
Sure. Now Anthony Iapace, who is the other hitting coach that they have hired, he will also have the title of hitting coach. I don't believe it's going to be hitting coach and assistant hitting coach, but in terms of how they're going to distribute duties, Iapace will be number 2. He will work under Vic Rodriguez, and he will be the number 2. And there's a lot of similarities between Rodriguez and Iapace. Both were, played the sport at the highest level. Victor Rodriguez made the big leagues for a very brief minute. Iapace did not, but they've both been around for a long time. They've both been hitting coaches at multiple stops. Like they've got a wealth of experience just in the dugout, being kind of, to hear Dana talk about it, it sounds like they're very much like just kind of psyche guys that are just like gonna get on the players level and kind of not overrule them with a bunch of data, with a bunch of analytics, things like that. Very kind of more of an old school approach. That being said, they have also promoted a guy named Dan Hennigan, and he will not be a part of the coaching staff. He will not be in uniform every game, but his title is going to be director of hitting and offensive coordinator. So the Astros have an offensive coordinator. Hopefully he's better than that guy the Texans have. But essentially, Dan Hennigan is a biomechanics guru. He founded a hitting company called Brain and Barrel. If you Google Dan Hennigan, you can find a ton of his work on hitting, on the science of hitting. He is a new school guy in every sense of the word. Dan Hennigan will be in charge essentially of game planning. He will be looking at the upcoming series. He'll be looking at game plans. He'll be putting that stuff together from a data kind of standpoint, from a scouting data analysis standpoint. He will give that information to Victor Rodriguez and Anthony Iapace, and the hitting infrastructure is complete. As far as how it will go, I don't know. But I think it is interesting to see that they went into this process kind of understanding that they needed a little more clarity. They needed direct titles. They needed, all right, this guy's doing this. This guy's doing this. You're good at this. You're not good at this. We're going to put it all together. And they have a lot of different viewpoints here. Dan Hennigan is as modern guy as you can get. And then they have 2 guys that are kind of more your old school veteran coaches. So I think just on paper, it's a good blend. It's a good blend of people. It's a good blend of thoughts, a good blend of experiences from outside. I think it's obviously notable that Victor Rodriguez and Anthony Iapace were external hires. These are not guys that have been in this organization before. So it's a different set of perspective. It's a different set of eyes. But as we talked about throughout September, throughout when the team parted ways with Alex Centrone and Troy Snicker, you can say all you want about the hitting coaches. Like, the players have to hit. Like, we can say this all looks great on paper, but the players have to go out there and perform. Like, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but if the Astros have the best offense in baseball next year, certainly these guys will get credit for it. But I think Jordan will get credit if he hits 55 homers and is a top 3 MVP finisher. Like, at the end of the day, it's on the players to get this done.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I just so you know, MLB.com has Iapashi as the assistant hitting coach. So I'll let you
Okay.
take that up
Okay.
with your buddy, and y'all can fight that out on what the actual title is. Um, Iapashi, Chi,
I bo- I hope I'm saying his name right. This is how Dana said it.
okay,
Iapachi. I hope it,
Iapachi.
I hope
Okay.
it's right. I hope I'm saying it right.
Well, he went to Lamar University
He
in
did.
Beaumont. He played baseball there. That's cool. Born in New York. I'm not sure if he moved here or somehow ended up at Lamar University from Astoria, New York. But that's interesting. I have a question that is
Mhm.
like semantics of titles and roles in baseball. So I'm going to give you his resume from the last couple of years. So he was the hitting coach for the Rangers from 2016 to 2018. Then the Cubs hitting coach from 2018 to 2021. Then he was the senior hitting coordinator for the Red Sox in 2022. So those are, I mean, I assume he got fired from the Cubs and then took a job as a hitting coordinator, whatever. I don't know if that's a promotion or not. But then he was the AAA manager for the Tigers in 2023 and then was the first base coach for the Tigers, and that was specifically listed as a promotion. Is assistant hitting coach not like a huge demotion from first base coach of a MLB team?
It needs to be noted that Anthony Iapachi was not going to be retained by the Tigers.
Okay.
They had. I don't know. Again, I don't cover the Tigers, but I don't know what the actual line was. But they had parted ways. He was not going to return to AJ Hinch's staff. He needed a job. So he was available. He was on the market. But one thing I will say, talking to people that know him, talking to people that have been around him, it sounds like when he was the first base coach, that was not really his wheelhouse. It sounds like hitting is where he needs to be. It sounds like he needed to get back in the hitting realm. This is what he does best. This is what he knows best. But yeah, that is why, because he was not going to return to the Tigers staff. They had made that announcement, I think, right after the playoffs, that just AJ making staff decisions just like Joe Espada did. Anthony Iapachi was, a guy that just he wasn't going to return. So
Yeah,
that's how that happened.
having manager experience seems like that
Yeah.
would be a huge plus for a hitting coach to constantly be thinking about the matchups you've got coming up in bullpen and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I know they're doing that anyway, but when you're the one signing your name on the lineup every day for 150 or so games, whatever they play in AAA, it makes a difference. So that's interesting. And then Vic Rodriguez was the assistant hitting coach for the Red Sox from 2013 to 2017, then the Guardians from 2018, 2023, and then was the head hitting coach with the Padres. Um, have any of those teams been good at hitting?
The Padres were good last year. Now
Yeah,
the Padres
but
also
the
employ.
Guardians from 2018 to 2023 were pretty famously not good at hitting home runs. Then the Padres like super underperformed in 2024. Obviously, like you said, they were good last year. That is no knock against this man. I'm just wondering, are what does that mean?
Again, I will keep going back to it's on the players. Like the Guardians famously don't spend a ton of money. They don't sign they don't sign premier position players in free agency. And one thing about the Guardians that you can ding them on, and I don't know that you can ding the major league hitting coach on this, is they have not developed hitting well in that organization. Obviously they are wonderful at developing pitching. We know that, we see that. That is one thing just in their organization. They are not known for developing hitters. And you couple that with, this is a team that doesn't spend money. They don't go out and sign premier players. The coach is only as good as the players. Much like, is it Vic Rodriguez's fault that, some of the Padres guys this year, some of these like very, very well-known Padres players had poor years. They were also like they had the lowest strikeout rate in baseball. They had the highest contact rate in baseball, tied with the Blue Jays. Like, again, there's things that the Padres did well last year, but I'm just going to keep coming back to like these hitting coaches are fine, but like it's about the personnel. It's about the players. They can set them up for as much success as you want. Dan Hennigan can give them the best plan. Vic Rodriguez or Anthony Iapace can whisper the good sweet nothings in their ear before they go up to the plate. It's up to the player once he's at the plate to do the job. So I it's why the whole like, oh, who they're going to hire, hitting coach things, like I'm just not sure that it's more about the personnel. It's more about the players. Again, maybe the players hearing a different perspective will help. Maybe just getting a fresh set of eyes will help. But at the end of the day, it's going to be on Jose Altuve and Yainer Diaz and Carlos Correa and Jordan Alvarez to go out there and perform more than it is maybe the hitting coaches.
And remind me, what's the nerd's name?
The nerd's name is Dan Hennigan.
He sounds cool. We need to have him on the show because I want to talk about all the weird stats and data collection and all that kind of stuff. That'd be very interesting. But, it seems like again, this is obvious, right? Like when you get rid of people, you're bringing in the people to try to create a collective vision. But it sounds like all of these are going to work together pretty well. You've got the kind of science side of things, and then, 2 new hitting coaches as well to feed that information. And so, yeah, look, that the Astros have been on the cutting edge of pitching for, a good bit. Just finding people with weird spin rates, or whether it's now it's the extension or, whatever. But the Astros have led a lot in pitching. I don't know that is true in hitting, despite how good or bad you think the Astros have been at hitting. I mean, last year, whatever, but obviously they've been a very good hitting team for a while. But I don't think that you ever heard about like this innovation that the Astros were doing. It was just like they have all these good players. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see if the Astros can kind of pick up on that and kind of lead from the front in terms of hitting innovation.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see which players these guys have to mold and coach. We'll talk about some roster construction, some interesting comments about Cam Smith, and some trade discussions right after this message from our friends at Foul Territory.
Kratz Pop Quiz. What has 35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, comes in excellent flavors like, of course, chocolate, vanilla, but chocolate peanut butter, my favorite. No added sugar, gluten-free, under $5 per meal, and is ready to drink.
Go out the house, get yourself a Huel. Look at you. You even have one right there. Ready to smack that, John? Chocolate peanut butter, chocolate, and vanilla. Deliciosos.
Also, there is a new Daily Greens ready to drink. 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods. Only 25 calories on that one. 4 grams of fiber. There's flavors like blueberry, apple, peach. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched into Target stores nationwide. Try both products today with 15% off your purchase for new customers with the code FOUL at huel.com/FOUL. Use that code FOUL and fill out the post-checkout survey to help support FT.
So, as I said earlier, the GM meetings you get here, and certainly not the Astros don't really. They don't have. They have in their head kind of what they're thinking about roster wise. But again, like until you start meeting with teams, until you start hearing and agents and hearing like what these guys want, what these guys are looking years and money wise, who's available in the trade market, you can't really have a crystallized focus of like, all right, we're targeting this guy, or we're targeting this position, or we're spending this money here. So Dana today got a good bit of questions about overall just kind of the state of the roster, kind of trade, where it would make obvious sense to trade guys. And I want to bring up one thing that I think was making the rounds. Just the quote was put out there about Christian Walker. I'm going to read Dana Brown's quote directly, and I'll be forthright. I asked the question, and the way I asked it was, he had talked about the infield law, the surplus of infielders that they had, and how, it's a good thing to have that surplus of infielders. So my question, the way I phrased it was, is that a position where if you are active in the trade market, do you believe that the infield is maybe a place where you could trade from that surplus? And within the answer, he said, we're not really trying to trade from that, but he goes unprompted. He said, you know, I know we have people talk about Walker, but we haven't talked about Walker in any trade. Walker is our everyday first baseman. That is what I would consider to be a non-denial denial. Like, at no point did he say we're not trading Christian Walker. All he said is, we haven't talked about Christian Walker, and he's our everyday first baseman. Yes, on November 12th at 7 p.m. Vegas time when we were discussing this, Christian Walker was the Astros' everyday first baseman. And maybe they haven't talked to other teams about him. It just seems to me, and Dana was a lot more effusive in keeping Isaac Paredes off of the trade block. I'll read what Dana said. He said, I'm sure there would be a market for Paredes if we decide to trade him. But right now, we think he is a guy that we do not want to trade. He carries too much value in our lineup. He's one of the best guys at seeing pitches and working counts, and it's one of the reasons we traded for him. We need that value in our lineup. It's the exact direction we're trying to take, and we feel like if we trade him, we'd be weakening our lineup. Right now, we have no interest in trading him. That is a more full-throated denial. But again, it said right now. So suffice to say, it looks good and sounds good, but there's still, I can't imagine that there will be, that all of these infielders, that all of these players will be on the roster when the Astros get to West Palm Beach in February.
Yeah, we talked about it all year. One of those two was going to be gone, Paredes and Walker. I have said the whole time. I mean, obviously, you'd rather have Paredes. That's why he has more trade value. But you want to keep Paredes, and it was just a matter of who are the Astros going to choose. And it certainly sounds like right now they would rather trade Walker. I mean, if they get some insane offer for Paredes, I'm sure they would do that too. But yeah, I mean, they're going to have to trade one. I can't believe that day one of the GM meetings, people weren't running to Dana Brown to talk about trading for Christian Walker's $40 million contract. Can't believe that hadn't come up yet. It will, not from people calling Dana. Dana's going to have to do some cold calls to see if anybody wants to kick the tires on Walker. But yeah, I mean, one of those two guys is going to have to move unless, I mean, especially because Paredes is dealing with his injury. And I think you said today he was at 65%, whatever that means. I love their percentages.
We can talk about that. We can talk about the return to play procedure.
There we go.
It's being deeply audited.
But he's not going to be able to spend the offseason trying to learn second base or whatever, which is like the only other scenario where you would be able to, keep all four in a way that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have to trade one of those two. But we shall see. It's day 2 now. Yeah. Tell us about the return to play procedure. What's that audit doing?
Says Dana said that they're still kind of in the throes of it. He did acknowledge that in looking at the injuries this year, that they did have some guys that he believed and they believed returned too soon, that got back too quickly. Jake Myers collapsing before a pitch was even thrown in a game in July was evidence enough of that. But yeah, it just, again, as we've talked about, James Click said they needed to review this 3 years ago. And I guess now it's being done. So not much in the way of specifics, not much in like, here's what they're going to change, here's how they're going to change it. But it is being reviewed. It is being looked at. And again, as we both said for a while, as this was becoming a thing, neither of us are doctors, neither of us are physical therapists, neither of us are athletic trainers. I can't sit here and tell you what they have to do differently. I can't just sit here and, estimate or hypothesize like this is what needs to be done. I'm not that smart. I just don't have that acumen to be able to do that. So I'm not going to sit here and try to do that. But all I can tell you is Dana said they're looking into it. Hopefully, maybe when we get to the winter meetings, maybe when we get later on down the road, we can get a little more into kind of how this is, what they're going to change. But yeah, there are changes happening, which is good to hear, and obviously, pretty needed. A couple other housekeeping things. Dana Brown said that they're about a week away from hiring a second pitching coach to go alongside Josh Miller to replace Bill Murphy. If you're listening this deep into the podcast, you'll get a little bit of scoop. I know a couple guys that have interviewed. One of them is Barry Enright, the former Angels pitching coach. He was the Angels pitching coach the last couple of years under Ron Washington, a younger, progressive, kind of analytical guy. I've heard very good things about him. And then another guy that they have talked to is Oscar Marin. He was coincidentally the Pirates pitching coach that was let go last season. So he would be interviewing to take the job of the guy that took his job in Pittsburgh. So those are two names. Dana Brown said they had more. It's obviously it's more than two people, but those are just two guys that I have heard that they've looked at. Not saying that they're finalists, not saying that they're going to get the job. Just giving you two names because you guys deserve some insight. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm still not clear on what the difference between the GM meetings and the winter meetings are.
The easiest way to explain it is the managers. So all the managers go to the winter meetings. And the winter meetings are a lot more formal. Like
I've been to the winter meetings, and it's also like a job fair, essentially.
There's there's a lot of other ancillary stuff that is going on with the winter meetings. Like there's job fairs, there's career expos, there's, the people that the traveling secretaries go to the winter meetings because that's where they all do their meeting. Like the clubhouse attendance across this. Like when I say everyone in baseball goes to the winter meetings, everyone in baseball goes to the winter meetings, maybe minus the players, but even some players will show up to the winter meetings as well. So the GM meetings is just a little more low key. MLB obviously like puts it on, like it's not as if it's disorganized, but MLB is pretty hands off of just like the only formal stuff the media had here was, like I said, those two media availabilities on those 2 days. At the winter meetings, like they've got it down to like this time, this manager's going in this room. Like it's very organized and thought out. So it's just on a bigger scale and more people. That's basically the biggest difference.
Can we talk about Scott Boras?
Sure.
Okay.
I know people will love that.
What does he smell like?
I don't get that close to him because
wow.
Have you seen those scrums? Like there's 100 people around. I'm not getting that close.
To me, it seemed like you could tell when he walked down a room, like you could smell it as he's coming. He seems like a guy that would have very loud cologne.
This story was told at the bar last night, actually, and it's hilarious. So Dave Dombrowski, the president of baseball operations of the Phillies, he famously wears a very strong smelling cologne. And apparently that has been his trademark since he broke into the game. Why do we know that? Because this story was recounted last night. In 2022, Phillies Astros World Series, Justin Verlander was doing his pre-start press conference the day before game one. Dave Dombrowski famously used to work for the Tigers, used to be Justin Verlander's boss. Dave stopped in the press conference room because he was in the hallway just to shake Justin's hand on the podium, just like, hey, Justin, good to see you. How's the family, everything? It was in the middle of the press conference. So all the reporters were in there. And the minute Dave left the stage, Justin just sits down and goes, man, he's still wearing the same cologne. And you got to remember, Justin was a Tiger in when? 2006, 2007, and this was 2022. So Dave Dombrowski is the king of colognes.
That rules. That's awesome.
Scott Boras is the king of wordplay.
Yeah, I want to write those for him next year. I want to be a part of the writing team. There's no way he's doing this himself. He's got to have a squad that's writing these. Give me some of them. My favorite that I saw today. You can start pulling up some Boras quotes in the background. Can you find the one about Ranger Suarez? That one was good. I
was a little preferential to the Tarek Barrick in Detroit.
I could not get that.
The Tigers want to build a Tarek Barrick, and Little Caesars are running around saying "Sai." It should be noted that the
Golly.
owner of the Detroit Tigers is Chris Ilitch.
Yeah.
And they made their fortune on Little Caesars. They're the Little Caesars people. I cannot find a comprehensive list of all of Scott's.
Okay, let me read you here. I've got.
Today. And also, you're gonna hate me for this. I've never seen Top Gun, so all of the Cody Bellinger Top Gun references went way over my head.
Have you seen Top Gun Maverick?
I've not seen any of the Top Gun franchises.
You should watch Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun is a classic, obviously, but Top Gun Maverick rules. Like it's really, really good. You would like that movie. Anyway, here's Scott Boras on Ranger Suarez. True 4-pitch command. He's really what you'd call the zone ranger. That's good. I mean, that's a good one. Some of them are, you kind of roll your eyes at them. That's solid.
The Bregman one was also very, very good. He started by talking about how the Red Sox, before Bregman got there, had some do not holes in their lineup, and they were dunking below the playoff level. But you have to give the Red Sox owners credit, Boras said. In 2025, they went out to spend some Starbucks to bring in a Bregman blend that led them to the playoffs. I'm sure the Boston fans don't want this just to be a cup of coffee, and no one wants a Brexit.
Ugh, there's so many mixed metaphors in there and mixed references. We gotta shorten that up, get it cleaner. But again, does this not sound like my Twitter feed? Like these are the jokes that I would rule at this. I sincerely want to be a part of that next year. I will do it for free. I just want to be a part of the writing process next season. So if he needs me to send in some joke packets, I'm happy to do that. But I want to be a part of this next year. So if you can get that message to him, let him know I am interested.
Maybe he's a listener. Maybe he's listening to this.
Was Framber there or his agent?
He was. No, Framber was. I did not see him, but enough of like my colleagues and enough people saw it. Like, yes, he was here to meet with teams.
And they're sure it wasn't someone from Predator Badland.
Apparently his hair.
He cut his hair.
So, because that's what one of my coworkers today, like, he was like, I think I just saw Valdez, but he didn't have the hair extensions. I was like, oh, he cut it. He's like, okay, it was 100% him.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon, like I said, for players to go to the winter meetings and meet with teams. That usually doesn't happen at the GM meetings. I don't know for certain why Framber was here. I have a very, very educated guess as to why Framber Valdez was here to meet face-to-face with some teams. Just because,
he wanted to go to Nobu.
Carbone. Another nice one. Momofuku.
I've been there.
I'm sure Framber's a huge foodie. He probably did that after going to meet with these teams who probably had some questions just about everything that happened last year. So it was that was good. That was good agenting by his agents to get him here, get him in front of teams. From what I have heard, apparently his agency has made a video like explaining who Framber is, kind of trying to get people a little bit off of the main talking point or points that come up with Framber sometimes. So, I mean, I hope for his sake it went well. That maybe when he gets in front of these GMs, they have a little bit of a different view maybe than what they saw on one pitch against the Yankees at one time. But good for Framber. Hey, you got a couple days in Vegas too. So Framber in Vegas, what could go wrong?
There we go. I mean, maybe he got his meetings crossed up.
Are you doing this to avoid talking about Cam Smith?
Look, I welcome all challenges, and so I will take this with a stone face and bravery here. So hit me with the bad news.
I thought this was honestly the most newsworthy and revealing thing that Dana said in the 35 minutes we talked to him today. He talked about the genesis of this. It started with Dana said we need to firm up our outfield, just in terms of production, everything like that. only 5 teams last year had a lower OPS from their outfield than the Astros. So yes, they need to firm up their outfield. Part of that was Jake Myers blew his calf out and came back too quick. Part of that was Jordan Alvarez only played in 48 games. Part of that was Chas McCormick gave you nothing. Part of it was Jesus Sanchez came over at the deadline and gave you less than nothing. And part of it was that Cam Smith had a 490 OPS after the All-Star break. And in talking about the outfield, Dana was asked whether Cam Smith, they were entering the offseason as if Cam Smith was their everyday right fielder. And he was diplomatic, but he said in no uncertain terms that he is not guaranteed a roster spot as the Astros go to spring training. And I think that in and of itself is not, it didn't like startle me, because if you look at the stats, and I mean, we talked about, like, he probably should have been in the minor leagues in August of last year, but the injury situation and the fact that they had no one else, they kind of had to keep him up. Where it kind of startled me was just that the way with which this team has talked about Cam Smith for the last 12 months, the expectations they put on him, how bullish Dana Brown has been about him, how everyone has talked about this guy and his ability and the superstar level, to hear that it has now gotten to that position where, like, they still certainly have confidence in him. Don't get me wrong. And I'll read some of Dana's quotes just so we can get some context here, but they're confident and they want him to bounce back and they think that he can make the adjustment. But Dana's quote today was, "I would think he comes back and tries to play with more consistency and makes the necessary adjustments. But we have to be open to sending him back to AAA if he hasn't turned the corner. The talent is off the charts. He could be a star one day. We all know that. We saw glimpses of it late last year, but we're just going to need him to be more consistent," which is totally understandable. What I wonder is, how does this impact their offseason? Like, because if they don't have Cam Smith penciled in as the right fielder, does that increase the chances that they do keep Jesus Sanchez around and hope that he can turn it around and it was a bad 2 months? And does it increase the chances that they go out and look for an outfielder? Is that now become where they maybe target a position player in the outfield? What does it mean if teams are calling on Jake Myers? Because I'm here to tell you, teams are calling about Jake Myers. He has a ton of value. I don't know, the Astros wouldn't get a king's ransom for him, but they could do a pretty nice little trade if Jake Myers is included in it. Does that prevent them from doing that? Zach Cole got a ton of mention from Dana Brown today, unprompted, a lot, and all this. Does he have maybe a more increased role? I just think it opens up a lot of questions that maybe I wasn't asking myself going into the winter.
Yeah, to me, it boils down to, you've got one outfield spot up for grabs. Altuve and Alvarez are going to be sharing left field. Jake Myers is in center. I forgot Jesus Sanchez was still technically an Astro, so when you said that, it was a shock for me. But I think what he's saying is, we're not going to keep Cam Smith in the majors if he's not starting. So if Zach Cole comes in and hits 450 in spring training and hits nukes like he did at the end of last year, he's going to be the starter in right field. And we're not going to, Cam Smith isn't the fourth out. I think that, to me, that's what it sounds more like you got to earn a starting spot, but if not, we want you to develop still and go down. What did you read into it?
Dana is, and I wrote this in what I wrote on The Athletic tonight. Dana, as a scout, as a talent evaluator for his whole career, Dana is very infatuated's the wrong word. Dana values on-field performance. He values what he sees with his eyes done on the field. Why did Cam Smith make the opening day roster last year? Because he was the best hitter in the Grapefruit League for 5 weeks. And we talked about how that could have been misleading and how he wasn't facing, major league quality arms, but he just kept doing it to the point where Dana went against maybe some people in his own front office that were like, hey, this has been great and all, and he's going to be a stud one day, but he probably needs to be seasoned a little bit. Dana, he has the authority to make the roster. He valued the on-field performance. It's why Zach DeZenzo also made the opening day roster, because he had an incredible spring too. I just wonder if that's good logic, because like you just mentioned, like if Zach Cole goes to the Grapefruit League this year, which he has never been in the Grapefruit League because he's never been in big league camp. If he goes and has a Cam Smith style spring and they're in the same situation with him, they put him on the roster and then he's scuffling in June because he just destroyed low A pitching in Grapefruit League play for 5 weeks. Like, I don't know that the logic should be you win a job in spring. I think they are. This is my opinion. I think if that is the way they go, they are overvaluing spring training, because guys go to spring, like Grapefruit League play, and what you face, it's a different sport. It's a different way of things. And we talked about it when Cam was doing well. We talked about it all through spring training. I just think that is not the way I would do it. I would go into it, and certainly on-field performance has to matter. Like, certainly it has to matter. But I think if Cam Smith goes to spring training this year and shows that, he's swinging less, or he's going up the middle more, he's going the other way more, which is when he's really good with his contact point. If they see the adjustments they want, but he has a 500 OPS in Grapefruit League play, like, I think it should mean more that he's made adjustments than the stats in Grapefruit League play. So
Yeah,
that's where I am.
I didn't mean actually spring training stats. That's not what I meant. What I meant is how they look for those 6 weeks or whatever, not even just, like you say, in the actual games or whatever. But look, they don't matter if they're close, but if Cam Smith hits 100 and strikes out every other bat, and Zach Cole has 15 home runs in a month, like, yeah, he's going to be starting. And like I said, to me, it's more of, if he is not the everyday starter for sure, locked in, you don't want to carry him as a fourth outfielder. You'd rather him get everyday at bats, and he's still 23 or whatever. Like, if there's not a place for him every day on the major league team in April, he doesn't need to be on the bench for those games.
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing. Maybe I'm thinking about this too much. Maybe this is like galaxy brain thought, but part of me wondered whether what Dana said today. And again, it's not as if he was demeaning or dissing or sounded unhappy with Cam Smith, but I wonder if part of it too was like maybe a little bit of a challenge, just to be like, because look, like, yeah. I don't know if Cam Smith's reading, but like, it's going to get back to Cam Smith. Like,
I bet he can read.
I'm sure he can. When you take him to the zoo, you'll figure it out. But
Humble ISD education, he definitely can.
But it's going to get back to him. And again, the one thing about Cam Smith that I think this won't do, like, this is not going to mess with his head. Like, no. His makeup is so off the charts. And we talked about it last year as he was struggling, just the way he still continued to carry himself, the way he talked about struggling, the way he does everything the right way. Like, this is not going to be one of these things that this is going to be what, ruins his head or like makes him put too much pressure on himself. Like, but I do wonder if part of it was, Dana trying to catch his attention a little bit, be like, look, man, like, we believe in you. Like, we really, really think you're good. Like, I didn't call you an aircraft carrier for nothing, but at some point, and I wrote this, like, you can have all the prospect status and all the nicknames you want, but it's a game of production. Like, you got to produce. And if that doesn't happen, then the Astros will have a lot of questions to answer of how they configure their outfield.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that thought that he had a guaranteed roster spot anyway. I'm sure if you'd asked him right before Dana said that, are you the starting right field? I'm sure he would say the same thing. I got to earn it every day, something to that extent. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that is going to be hurt by this. I'm sure he was thinking along those lines anyway.
No, but it's, again, I think the juxtaposition of going from, like, they were calling this kid an aircraft carrier like the day after they acquired him. They put him on the roster as a 22-year-old. Like, usually when it's to this extent, like, you're riding with him. Like, you're taking the good and the bad. Like, this is our guy. Like, we're riding with him through the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, we're here to nurse him through all, like, to hear it now be down to this level where it's like, yeah, if it doesn't look good, then like we got other options. Like it was a little bit sobering to see that kind of an about face. And again, Cam can solve all this by like having like going to spring training and just showing out. But it's something that Dana's not speaking out of turn here, obviously. Like this is something that they're really going to have to consider if he comes to spring training and it doesn't look better. They're going to have to think, and I wonder how that's going to influence what they do this offseason, because if they get 3 weeks into camp and it's like, oh, this doesn't look any better, and they're not going to put him on the roster, like they got to have someone there to play right field. And that's why I wonder, like, does it mean Jesus Sanchez is back? Does it mean Zach Cole is like make a more prominent role? I don't know, but it's a lot of fascinating questions.
Well, good thing you're there to ask him, Chandler. Where'd you eat today? Have you had a good meal while you're out there yet?
So we did carbone. A few coworkers and I did carbone on Monday night, and it was exquisite. It's the second time I've been. It was exquisite. Well done. There's a secret pizza place in the Cosmo. It's if you're ever at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas, go to the third floor by Blue Ribbon Restaurant. There's a little opening in the wall, and if you just walk through the opening, there's like a New York style pizza place in the back. I had that for lunch. There's an egg slut in the Cosmo. I had that for breakfast. I had an egg, a sausage, egg, and cheese from the egg slut. It's excellent. Momofuku has like a sandwich and bowl place in the courtyard in the food court at the Cosmo. Had that one day. It's been they should do it in Vegas every year. It's a lot of walking though. My feet are killing me.
Yeah.
A ton of walking. Like you stand a lot at these meetings, no matter what city they're in. But for those of you that like know Vegas, like I'm at New York, and these meetings are at the Cosmo. Like it's not far by any stretch, but it's a hefty little walk, and I have to do that walk plus walk up and down the Cosmo a bunch. I've gotten more steps in than I ever envisioned.
Hearing you talk about Vegas must be what you feel like when me and Josh talk about Disney and Pokemon.
Correct.
Just eyes glazed over. Like I know a lot of these words. I can't picture a thing that you're saying. Y'all should have seen after our last episode. We have to like sit in here for it to upload, and Maverick, Josh's son, came in and was playing Pokemon on the Switch, and I walked him through exactly where to walk in the Viridian Forest to get up to face Brock from memory. It was beautiful, and Chandler just did exactly what he just did. Just glazed over, not interested. But I was a hero, so that's all that matters there.
I will say, not even just this trip, but like my last couple trips to Vegas, it has like, and maybe you can relate to this. Like it has startled me how many like families are here, like that have kids that are like your kids' age, and I'm like, why in the world would you bring like they have like 5 and 6-year-old kids?
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I get it. Like there's stuff for kids. Like you take them to Cirque du Soleil. Like there's shows here, and like it's not all gambling and alcohol and adult things. But like, I was like, this was a family vacation spot, like Las Vegas. Really?
Oh yeah. There you go.
Are you taking your kids to Vegas?
No, there's so many other places that I'd rather go with kids for. Like that's not
exactly. That's
there's like 100 other places that I would. It's not that I wouldn't do. Like if I had a work trip or something and I could bring my family out, I probably would, just because there's a bunch of things to do. But no, if I'm like paying for and planning a trip, I'm definitely not Vegas.
Of course. And that may be where I should come from, is like, I'm like, the beach, like take your kid to the beach, take your kid to Disney World, like Vegas, really?
Yeah.
If you're listening and you took your kids to Vegas on vacation, I promise, like I'm not looking down on you. I just have a lot of questions. It's these things you think about on these long walks between the Cosmo and New York. Christmas is they have Christmas decorations kind of starting to come up here. Christmas is around the corner. You can shop crushcityterritoryshop.com. Anything you want, pretty reasonable price wise, especially when you're thinking about other things you're going to get. But you can get backpack, hoodie, t-shirt, trucker hat, regular hat that Tyler's wearing, have lightweight hoodies, have coffee mugs, have water bottles, have a bunch. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can scan the QR code to go to crushcityterritoryshop.com and shop all your merch. Like I said, Tyler's got one of the hats on. So
It's perfect lightweight hoodie season right now, where it's like 65, 75 and sunny. So you you want a little bit of the hood and the long sleeves, but you don't want it to be too hot. I've been wearing mine most mornings when I'm walking after I drop the kids off, and it is perfect.
I wore mine like my last day before I flew to Vegas. Like I wore my lightweight hoodie. I wore it around like when I was running errands and stuff. It was perfect. I highly recommend the lightweight hoodie at crushcityterritoryshop.com. Presuming I make it out of my last night of Vegas alive, we'll be back this weekend, probably Sunday, to talk about maybe some other stuff that we didn't hit from Dana today, because he talked for 40 minutes. Like he said a lot. I'll have some more content coming in the next couple days too that we can maybe analyze a little bit more. But until then, you can follow me on X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. As always, rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. You can subscribe to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel so you can get notified every time we post a new podcast. Like I said, we'll be back on Sunday night to talk about some things we may have missed, some new GM meetings, intel, whatever we have. We'll talk to you then. And thanks for listening.
I'm going to go see the Oh Hellos at the House of Blues tonight, probably Thursday night, the 13th. If you're into like Mumford and Sons and kind of folky, like rock music, they're great. And one of my buddies is in the band, so I'm going. So come say hi. Bye.